take our seats. I just looked at my watch and it's past 10:50 and we have plenty to do. So thank you all for coming back so that we could complete our work today. We are now, do we need to start the meeting back up? Okay, good. Welcome back, everyone. We are now on item 61, the Experiences Implementing a State Level Equity Advisory Committee. Sequoia Erasmus and Noemi Gallardo is going to be participating remotely. Thank you so much, Sequoia. Good to see you again.
Great, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Tab 61 features a presentation by Noemi Gallardo, Public Advisor for the California Energy Commission. Ms. Gallardo will present her work facilitating the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group in partnership with the California Public Utilities Commission. The purpose of the advisory group is to advise the California Public Utilities Commission and the California Energy Commission regarding the development, implementation, and impacts of proposed programs related to the Clean Energy and Pollution Reduction Act of 2015, or SB 350, in disadvantaged communities. As a body that serves 2 state-level commissions, the advisory group provides an example of a long-standing group that requires cooperation and co-management from both commissions. And as our commission moves towards implementing a state-level equity advisory committee or committees in collaboration with CalSTA and Caltrans, the work of the advisory group can serve as a useful model for implementation. And with that, I'll pass it to Ms. Gallardo. Thank you.
Thank you, Sequoia. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. It is a pleasure to be here. I am Noemi Gallardo, as Sequoia just stated, the Public Advisor at the California Energy Commission. My main responsibility is to ensure the public can engage in our proceedings, and I also lead the effort to support the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group. So that's the main advisory body for the Energy Commission. And we do usually call them the DACAG, D-A-C-A-G. So if I slip there and call them DACAG instead of advisory group, that's why. But I'll try to stick with advisory group. Next slide. I would like to introduce you to the advisory group and give you some basics about them. So this is an image from the Energy Commission's webpage. As you can see, the group consists of 11 members. And I want to be clear that establishing the advisory group was not a voluntary act. The advisory group was set up because Senate Bill 350, the Clean Energy and Pollution Reduction Act of 2015, required the Energy Commission and the California Public Utilities Commission to jointly establish an advisory group consisting of representatives from disadvantaged communities who would review and provide advice on programs proposed to achieve clean energy and pollution reduction, and also help us determine whether those proposed programs would be effective and useful in disadvantaged communities. So we established the group in 2018. That was before I arrived at the Energy Commission, so I don't know all of the details firsthand, but I'll do my best to provide as much information as I can to you. Next slide. So I do want to state out front that this advisory group has provided great value to the Energy Commission. Their advice over the years has improved our policies and programs just across the board. They've also served as an accountability mechanism of sorts to help us stay true to our commitment to equity and environmental justice in general. And having them as a go-to resource has provided us consistent feedback to help keep us on track and help us course correct as well. This advisory group has also provided the opportunity for our staff to develop relationships with these members and the organizations and communities they are connected to. For example, when staff is seeking panelists for workshops and events, we can call upon the DACAG to see if anyone is interested to join us. The members of the advisory group have also become better educated about the Energy Commission, our programs, and energy policy in general. So they also serve as ambassadors of clean energy for us who can answer questions from the community and things like that. They have also become an additional channel of communication for us to disseminate information, share news, announcements, and opportunities related to the Energy Commission. Next slide. One of the challenges we face that I thought you should be aware about is the significant staff time and support that's required to keep the group up and running. So as I mentioned earlier, the DACAG, or the advisory group, advises the Energy Commission and the Public Utilities Commission. Each agency has 2 staff members and 2 attorneys supporting the DACAG for a total of 8 employees between the 2 agencies. And we split tasks between the agency. The Public Utilities Commission, for example, handles the stipends and leads the application process when we need to fill vacancies. And since we've been virtual, the Energy Commission has taken on more responsibilities related to meetings, such as setting up the Zoom platform, drafting run of shows, things like that. We also craft and share a weekly newsletter for the advisory group. Both agencies need to post and disseminate meeting notices, update our agency web pages, conduct new member onboarding, review the annual report for the DACAG, draft priority recommendations, work on the charter updates, among other things. Next slide. Here are the commissioners who oversee the advisory group. There are 2 commissioners assigned to handle the advisory group from each agency, so a total of 4. And in terms of the role of the commissioners, they do not get involved in the day-to-day matters. The commissioners come in when there are major decisions to be made related to the advisory group. For example, when we've made changes to the charter. The commissioners have also been very diligent about attending the advisory group's monthly meetings. We have at least 1 commissioner from either agency and usually 2 who attend each meeting. And the commissioners also help promote interaction with the advisory group, encouraging staff to engage with the advisory group. And I also want to highlight that the commissioners have developed really good relationships with the members of the DACAG. Next slide. The agencies decided to create a charter for the advisory group, which has been very handy. I would highly recommend you craft one if you do move forward setting up an advisory group. The charter serves as guidance for both staff and the advisory group members, especially to help onboard new advisory group members or, support staff who are coming in fresh, because we have had some transitions. The charter helps provide a solid understanding of the key aspects of the advisory group, such as the purpose of the group, membership requirements, the terms, duties, conflict of interest explanation, and those types of things. Next slide. The advisory group is governed by 3 officers, the chair, vice chair, and secretary, shown here. The advisory group nominates and votes for the officers. The agencies don't get involved with that. We'll support if they need our help, but they handle that on their own for the most part. And then the support staff meets with these officers to set the meeting agendas each month, and we'll work with them to decide administrative matters that don't need to go to the full advisory group. I also want to point out that all of the members are on 2-year terms, and we've staggered the group for half to end in odd years and the other to end in even years. And they can be reappointed, but cannot serve more than 3 full terms. So staggering the terms has helped us maintain continuity, and then the terms themselves provide a good pathway for members to easily step down if needed. Next slide. So originally we had set up the advisory group to meet on a quarterly basis, but this group has been very active from the beginning, and they decided to meet monthly. We agreed to support that. So they meet every 3rd Friday of the month at 1 p.m. and meetings usually go until 4 p.m. The conversations are very robust. The monthly meetings create more work for staff, of course, but it's been worthwhile because of the consistency of the engagement that it has enabled us to do. That way we get better results on everything. The monthly meetings are Bagley Key meetings, which means we have to make them public, post notices, allow public comment, all of that good stuff that you're aware about. The support staff from both agencies get together with the officers, as I said, to develop the meeting agendas. We have a regularly scheduled meeting for the week after that the monthly public meetings happen. The support staff will inform the officers what types of items the agencies are interested in presenting and getting feedback on, and the officers will then inform us as well about what they want to learn about or what they want to engage in, and then we determine together what's feasible to do. We have learned to limit meetings to 2 policy items, maximum, and 1 or 2 administrative items. Otherwise, we don't have time for everything. So that's a lesson learned. And we have been using Zoom since the pandemic began, which has been going really well. However, the advisory group has told us that they do want to meet in person as soon as the restrictions are lifted. So our plan right now is to aim for hybrid meetings using Zoom and in-person capabilities once the restrictions are lifted. Our agencies have been very strict about staying virtual. Since we've gone virtual, my staff has drafted run of shows for the meetings to help the chair of the advisory group run smoother meetings, stay on time, know exactly what's going to happen next. And my staff also facilitates the public comment during the monthly meetings. Otherwise, the agency support staff will stay behind the scenes so that the advisory group chair can run the meetings and so that the members can engage with agency staff more directly. And then the secretary of the advisory group takes minutes each meeting, and then our attorneys review those minutes to ensure there isn't anything off base, and then we post the minutes to our dockets and the web pages so that they're accessible to the public. Next slide. An important lesson we've learned is to narrow the scope of what the advisory group is going to focus on each year. It's easy for them to get distracted and overwhelmed and bring in issues that might not be of significance to the agencies. We've got a lot going on, so it has helped us to narrow the scope. And each year, the advisory group will select its priorities. This slide shows, the list from 2021. As you can see, there are a lot, 14. And the last 2 years, the agencies have done our due diligence to provide the advisory group a list of priorities that we suggest so that, again, we can have better alignment and synergy. So that has been working out well. We just, at the last meeting, the DACAG decided on its priority areas for 2022, and we've got 9 of them. Actually 10 of them, 9 suggested by the agencies and 1 that they added. So after the advisory group selects the priority areas, they also select 1 to 2 members who will be considered the leads for the topic area and who the chair can call on during meetings to take on tasks related to that priority area. We also allow up to 5 members to be assigned to each priority area as a subject matter expert. And these are the members the agency staff can then seek out in between those monthly public meetings for input and guidance. So as an example, if staff from the Energy Commission wants advice about the Clean Transportation Program investment plan, we could call on the 5 subject matter experts who cover the transportation electrification priority area, convene a meeting, and engage with them, get their feedback, et cetera, and that way we don't have to wait for the monthly meeting, especially if the monthly meeting is going to happen after a deadline that staff needs to meet. And then towards the end of the year, the advisory group drafts a report using the priority areas as the topics to inform the agencies about the work they did over the past year, recommendations they made to us, et cetera. And it's a really good summary that they can then present to each agency at a formal public meeting, which our commissioners have really enjoyed. And next slide. In terms of decision-making and recommendations, it's been a very collaborative process. The staff communicates regularly with the advisory group, and the commissioners show up and dialogue regularly with them at the monthly meetings. So I think that's created a sense of trust between everyone, and it's helped us avoid conflicts or tension, and has instead led to more constructive conversations. Our attorneys will also jump in quickly to provide any guidance to the members when there's doubt or confusion about issues or processes. And then staff also tries to be very transparent about, our policies and our programs. So there's a consistent flow of communication and information. And then that way the advisory group isn't cut off guard, by anything, and the staff isn't either. The advisory group members are also very direct with us, which helps us understand, where they're coming from. And overall, everyone involved, from the advisory group to the staff to the commissioners, are very receptive to each other and really respects each other's expertise. So that helps us, again, be more productive. And in terms of how the advisory group provides their input to us, it's usually verbal at the either formal public meetings or the meetings that we may have with the subject matter experts in between. And then also they will draft formal letters or comments, and the subject matter expert or the lead will write that on their own, or they'll work with their fellow experts to draft something. And then the entire advisory group has to vote on written comments or letters, and then they submit those to the agencies through our distinct processes. Next slide. I also wanted to point out that the advisory group has drafted an equity framework to help guide its decision making, and also to provide it to the agencies as a resource. Both agencies have used this framework, but we haven't necessarily adopted it formally. But that is a deliverable that they've provided and decided to do on their own. Next slide. For the application and selection process of members, we take a simple approach. When there are vacancies, one of the agencies will take the lead in drafting an application for nominations. Usually it's been the Public Utilities Commission that has done that. And then both of our agencies will promote the opportunity to join. We'll disseminate the information through our listservers, social media channels, work with peer agencies to get their suggestions for candidates, etc. And then the staff will review and vet the applications. And once we've narrowed it down to about the top, 5, 6 candidates, depending on what that cohort looks like, we meet with the 4 commissioners from the agencies and have them determine who gets invited to join. And after candidates have accepted the invitation to join, we present the candidates to each agency for an official vote during a formal public meeting. And both agencies must agree on the candidates, or else they do not move forward. We haven't had that situation happen, though. The ones we've presented have been accepted. And the advisory group members do not participate in the application process, nor do they participate in the selection process, other than to help us get the word out about the opportunity to apply. So the decisions are by the commission. And ultimately, we're seeking to have 11 members total, 10 members from or represented disadvantaged communities, preferably with some familiarity of energy policy. And we also try to have geographic diversity. There is one member selected by the governor's tribal advisor to be the tribal representative, but we do not have any other specifically designated spots. And that was a decision that was made by the agencies to have that designated tribal representative. Next slide. So we offer per diem and do reimburse travel and other expenses for the advisor group, and that was required by Senate Bill 350. The Public Utilities Commission handles the per diem and reimbursement, so I'm not involved with that process, but I do know that we use the state standard form 262 for expense claims. Both agencies are supposed to cover the cost, and I'm fairly certain it comes out of our general budget. However, the Public Utilities Commission has indicated to me that hardly any of the members have sought the per diem or reimbursement. So it's kind of, I think that's why when I asked the question about how much are we spending, with the advisory group, we didn't really have a good sense, but I think it's because they haven't been submitting. And, I'm not sure if that's because the members forget to do it, or whether the process might be cumbersome, or they're just willing to volunteer the time because of how wonderful it is to work with the agencies and serve the communities they represent. And I'm pretty sure it's the latter. So next slide. I also wanted to bring conflict of interest considerations to your attention. We are not required to do so, but our agencies have been extra cautious and have asked all members coming onto the advisory group to fill out the Form 700. It is an opportunity for our legal staff to review interests with the members, explain what the potential conflicts could be, and help guide them. So that's been helpful. And the key thing that we've had to address is clarifying which hat members are wearing in various situations, whether it's the advisory group hat or their day-to-day job hat. And we do provide an annual conflict of interest training to help them understand their roles and responsibilities, aside from giving them that initial information when they're filling out the Form 700. We explain that when they're in a publicly noticed advisory group meeting, they're representing the communities rather than their particular organization, and that they should not use their position or the platform of the meetings to advocate for their organization. And that can get tricky for them when they're providing input, you know, that's based on their experiences they've had wearing their organization hats. We've also come across situations where they are in events and speak with their advisory group hat on, but haven't been given the authority by the advisory group to do so. So we do need to remind them that they can say they are part of the advisory group, but can't speak on the group's behalf unless the group has approved for them to do so, and on which topics. So it may seem simple, but at the same time, I am informing you of this because it has been a little complex for them to get that. And another area relates to funding. The Energy Commission has a lot of funding opportunities, so we also have to be careful when the organizations of the members are applying for grants and loans. We immediately have them work with our staff attorneys to figure out what they can or can't do. We also don't want to have them miss opportunities for funding, so we try to work with them to figure that out. Next slide. So this is my contact information in case you have any follow-up questions. I've also put the link to the advisory group's webpage located on the Energy Commission's website. And I'm really excited that you're exploring this idea and strongly encourage you to go for it. It's not easy, but it's well worth it. Our advisory group has helped the Energy Commission become a better agency. And before concluding, I want to thank Sequoia again for helping me to prepare for this meeting, and ready for questions if you have any.
Thank you so much for that very thorough presentation. We really appreciate it. Commissioners, do you have any questions? I see Commissioner Eager.
Yes, I have a two-part question, and thank you for that report. Can you be a little bit more specific about your goals of geographic diversity and of your current committee? Can you tell us what the makeup is of that committee geographically?
A great question, Commissioner. So in terms of geographic diversity, you know, the Energy Commission is based in Sacramento. The Public Utilities Commission is based in San Francisco. So we try to get members who are outside of the Bay Area, outside of Northern California, so that we're representing the entire state as opposed to, you know, just the areas where we're located. So we do a lot of due diligence to try to get candidates from, you know, the Imperial Valley, for example. That's been a hard one for us. The San Diego area. We do have one member who's from the San Diego area right now. From the Central Coast, we haven't had members from the Central Coast, but you know, we're trying to make sure that we have the various regions of California represented. You know, the Northern California beyond Sacramento and the Bay Area, the mountainous regions, the East, the deserts, etc. So we try to, you know, get as much diversity. So then when members are coming off the advisory group and there's a vacancy, we check to see what type of geographic diversity we've got, and then try to fill the vacancies with candidates who represent those areas where we have gaps. So for the last round, we had a couple of vacancies, and so we noticed that we didn't have much representation from the Los Angeles area, so we sought candidates who were from there. So right now, sorry, I'm going to have to think off the top of my head who we have represented, but we do have our tribal representative actually is from the Humboldt area, and we have someone else who is from a tribe, not necessarily the tribal representative. He's in the, I believe it's a mountainous area on the east. We have about 2 people from the Los Angeles area, 1 person from the San Fernando Valley area, 1 person from San Diego, another person in the Central Valley, and then we do have, trying trying to think of who else. A couple of folks from the Bay Area. I think that's about it. And I apologize, I don't have that list readily in front of me, but that's kind of gives you a sense of where they're from.
Does that include your questions? Great. Any, Commissioner Falcone?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Noemi, for the presentation. Understanding that this is an advisory group and that they have expertise in some of these items. I just wanted to kind of piggyback actually with Commissioner Eager's question about recommendations and how those recommendations are integrated into actually policy work and decision-making of the Energy Commission and the PUC. And also, does the group, have they contemplated a work plan, or do they create work plans?
Good question. So I'll take the easy one first. In terms of work plans, no, they have not created the work plans. We've developed a list of priorities, and they usually use that to, move through the year. But no strategy, or action items necessarily. They're kind of, waiting on the agencies to see what we need. And that's what they take on. So it's usually things that are coming up throughout the year, but they don't always know what's going to come up. So I think it'd be difficult for them to develop a work plan. And in terms of recommendations, I'll give you a concrete example. So our commissioner, Monahan, who leads the, clean transportation, transportation electrification issues for the Energy Commission, wanted to get some input from the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group about our Clean Transportation Program investment plan. So she, and her staff presented at a meeting and asked for input, and the advisory group informed her that the committee that advises the investment plan wasn't very diverse, didn't have much representation from disadvantaged community perspective. So because of that, she listened, and so she asked them for more information. They ended up writing a letter with all of the recommendations specifically for the Clean Transportation Program. One of the recommendations was to refresh the investment plan committee, and she did so. So we went through a major process to look for new candidates for that committee that represented different types of interests, disadvantaged communities, and just much more diverse. So it's a very much a collaborative process in terms of how the recommendations come about, and it's usually driven by what the agencies need and what they're requesting, and then the advisory group will respond. Sometimes, though, it is that the advisory group observes something and wants to engage in it, and will ask the agencies if they can be involved. And so, we talk that through and then figure out how that can happen. And hopefully, Commissioner, I answered your question. Let me know if there's anything I should clarify.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful because people are putting their precious time and are passionate about, their work in the equity space. And, my interest is in seeing, how that is meaningfully incorporated into the work of the commissions, and if their input is if there's intention of including their input in some of these really important issues. So that's helpful. I appreciate the specific example.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you so much.
Commissioner, I'd like to add that. Sorry, I'm hearing an echo. With time, our commissioners and our staff have seen how helpful it is to have the input from the advisory group. And so with time, they have incorporated going to the advisory group as part of our work plans. So when when the agency staff is developing an outreach plan, for example, or an engagement plan, or just developing a program in general, they will include going to the advisory group as part of the process. So, they'll come and ask the advisory group for input. So it has been really helpful, and it's changed the mentality of the agency to ensure they're putting equity first. And one of those steps is going to the advisory group to get that, their input based on their expertise.
Thank you. Commissioner Gardino?
Thank you, Chair Norton. Noemi, that was outstanding. Thank you for joining us today and for such a thorough overview of the good work that you've put together through the California Energy Commission and the Public Utilities Commission. I'm trying not to use acronyms. How did I do so far? Great. All
Pretty
right.
good. Pretty good.
Noemi, could you put back, there was a work plan of about 14 items that your Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group, again, trying to avoid the acronym of DAC. Yeah. DACAG. Could you put that back up on the screen?
We're working on it.
Oh, thank you. My eyes went fast through it. I was a little surprised that diesel generators were not on here. And we can talk offline. In my day job, which I won't go into, we did a third-party analysis working with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District and the South Coast Air Quality Management District about the startling proliferation of dirty diesel generators in those regions and the overwhelming impact that they have, according to Cal EnviroScreen, on disadvantaged communities. About 40% in South Coast are in disadvantaged communities, about 20% in the Bay Area are in disadvantaged communities, and they're terrible from a local air quality perspective. They're even worse on a greenhouse gas emissions perspective. Is that, am I missing it on your list, or did it just not make the cut?
Good question. So the priority areas are more like umbrella topics that we use to, like I said, narrow the scope of what the advisory group is going to focus their attention on. And it also helps the agencies know who to go to, right, when the subject matter experts sign up for the various priority areas. So, for example, when a topic like that comes up, like diesel generators, it's not specifically on this list. However, it may relate to one of these umbrella topics. So we can go and engage with the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group about that, and they can bring it to our attention as well. So, if it was, I'm trying to see, if it was related to buildings, for example, it would connect to the building electrification. Or if it was related to clean air, Assembly Bill 617 is on this list, so it might fall under that topic. And this list of priority areas is just to help us narrow the scope, but it doesn't mean that we can't go to them with something else that's off this list, or that they can't talk to us about something that's not on this. We can definitely engage in other topic areas. This is just to help us.
Thank you.
It's guided.
Oh, sorry, you cut out for a moment. Please continue.
No, that was it. I think I'm having some echo issues.
Noemi, I'd be delighted to follow up offline. In the last year alone in the South Coast, there's been a 22% increase in diesel generators approved. In the Bay Area, it's been about 34% of an increase, and it's alarming. So I'd love to follow up. I know this is a frustration of your chair, who I'm a big fan of, David Hochschild, as well. So if through our California Transportation Commission staff, avoiding acronyms again, we can follow up offline, I'd be delighted to do so.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I did want to also recognize Commissioner Grisby, and then I had a question.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Noemi. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
That's good.
Yes,
Noemi?
Noemi.
All right, thank you for the great presentation. One of the current tensions we oftentimes will see is this notion of lived experience versus, facility with data and policy analysis. How do you balance those concerns when you look at your qualifications for the Advisory Commission?
That's a great question. So it is part of what we look at. For example, when there's a vacancy, in the group, and we are lacking maybe, someone who's an expert with, or has experience with analysis or, data. We actually had that experience this last round. We did feel like we were missing that. And so we looked for a candidate or candidates who had that type of experience, probably more so work-wise or with other types of qualifications. And we were able to find someone who ended up accepting and is now on the advisory group. So that is something that's important to us. However, I think the emphasis we place is more on the lived experience and their work and engagement and understanding of disadvantaged communities, as opposed to their expertise as a technician or something other than the disadvantaged community focus. That really is what we're looking for, is folks who understand that aspect, because that's what the agencies are usually missing. So the agencies have a lot of technical expertise. Energy Commission, we have a ton of engineers and data specialists, but what we don't necessarily have are the folks with the lived experiences who can help guide our work in the direction of being equity centered. And so that's why we do seek out more of the lived experience versus that data technical expertise. Hopefully, Commissioner, that responds to your question, but let me know if I can provide any other clarification.
Yeah, it definitely does. I appreciate it. I guess one of the questions is, how do you reach the threshold? So you might have someone who has lived experience. How do you reach that threshold where they might understand acronyms or political processes, policy, in a way where they can engage fully? Do you have any ways to bring them along over time so they can more fully engage?
Yeah, excellent question. So yes, that's been our experience, that because the advisory group has chosen to have monthly meetings, and then we are engaging them in between those meetings, we've developed this almost like a process for them to get better educated on an array of issues. So, for example, the chair of the advisory group right now, Angela Islas, she's an expert in water issues, not necessarily energy. But because she's been engaged in all these, presentations that we've done, the conversations, she's developed a lot more expertise in energy. And so I would consider her now an energy expert, and she has provided great input to the agencies, even though she comes from a water background. So that's why I think it is. It's a bit more organic. We haven't really, been diligent about providing them trainings or educational sessions per se on energy. It's kind of like they got thrown in the deep water, and and they're swimming and figuring out with us. And at the same time, we do look for folks who have familiarity with energy policy. So we have someone, for example, the current secretary, Stephanie Chen. She is with MCE, Marin Clean Energy, one of the leaders in community choice aggregation, and she is extremely savvy on a wide array of energy policy issues, and has access to data and analysis and all of those things. So she brings that to the table. And then, these experts like Stephanie are also helping educate the other folks who might not be as immersed in energy on a day-to-day basis. And so, I think that is helpful to them too, having these fellow advisory group members who can, fill in gaps and help educate and explain and things like that.
Thank you.
Again, Commissioner, hopefully I responded, but let me know if you need any other clarification.
No, you did a great job. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. I had one more question, and that is, I looked at the staff and also the subsidies, and they're wonderful. And I know we have been asking for the same ability to have adequate staff and budget for the kind of work we want to do, the deep work. And I just wanted to ask you, Ms. Gallardo, how are you able to make sure that you could get that adequate staff work? And what exactly is the, I know you said this isn't your area, but do you know what the subsidy is for the participation of the commission, of the advisory committee members?
Yeah, so I think both commissions, the Public Utilities Commission and the Energy Commission, have decided that the advisory group is a priority and they have dedicated staff. So the chair of the Energy Commission, David Hochschild, told me when I came in, Noemi, I want you to lead the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group effort. Do whatever you need to do. So, he's elevated it as a priority. So I think that matters. And then the executive director at the Energy Commission, for example, is aware that this is a priority. The two commissioners assigned to the advisory group also view it as a priority. So I think that's how we've been able to ensure that we can dedicate staff to the process. And then I have a team of staff, and so I have asked one of them to be my number two on this work. And then in terms of the monies, I do agree it's important to allocate sufficiently in the budget. As I mentioned, I do not think that the advisory group members are seeking out the reimbursement. So that's why it's hard for me to tell how much we've spent there. But it is it's $100 from what I understand, a reimbursement for the meetings when they attend those, whether it's virtual meeting or in-person meeting. And then for virtual meetings, we haven't had to cover travel expenses. But when they do come to our meetings in person, we would cover the travel expenses and anything related to that type of need to get to the meetings.
Thank you. This is a very high priority for the California Transportation Commission. So I know we've been making a significant requests to have the funding that we need. So I just, continue to support the request for funding that you've been asking for, Mitch, because I know that's been a priority for you as well. Did you want to speak on that?
Yes, of course. I always want to speak on everything. Yes, we are working with the administration. We'll be working with the legislature to articulate the needs in the area and recognizing the need to compensate the advisory committees that the commission has. We currently have two. We're talking about an equity one. I know you didn't mention it, but I will point out that the compensation for the commission hasn't changed since 1979, and so that might be something worth looking at, because I heard costs maybe have increased since then. So we're working in both those areas.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, if there are no other comments, I think we can end this item. I want to thank you, Ms. Gallardo, for making yourself available and being so transparent as to what your agencies are doing. It's very exciting, and we're very interested in partnering with you to follow suit. With that, we're going to move to. Thank you so much. We're going to move quickly through our remaining items so that we complete our agenda in the time that we have allotted. We have some rainy drives back to our homes. So with that, I'd like Tim Sobelman to come back up and to go through item 62 and any other items that you want to push together for efficiency.
Thank you, Chair Norton. This first one will not be grouped. Item 62 is an action item for a roadway preservation project on Interstate 680 in Alameda County that is requesting an initial allocation that exceeds the programmed amount by more than 20% for both construction support and construction capital. Please note that there is a yellow replacement book item as identified on the change list. This project is being combined with a multi-funded STIP and local partnership program express lane project that is requesting an allocation later in the agenda. Caltrans has stated that the approximately $22 million increase in construction capital is due to a number of reasons. New fiber optic lines were added to the project to close a much needed gap that were not originally programmed. A movable concrete barrier system was added to the project to increase protection for contractors, workers, and motorists that was not originally programmed. And late in the design phase, a change was made to the pavement rehabilitation strategy for a portion of the project requiring full lane replacements instead of spot slab replacements at certain locations. Lastly, the district has also stated that unit prices escalated substantially more than anticipated for many items. These include removable concrete pavement and base, precast concrete pavement, cold plain asphalt concrete pavement, and temporary K-railing. The approximately $2.6 million increase for construction support is due to increased staffing needs for the change to full lane replacements, limited nighttime closures, and increased working days. The added movable concrete barrier system also increased the construction support needs. While commission staff will be recommending approval, staff is disappointed in the lack of timely communication and coordination on changes to the scope and cost on this project. Commission staff was first notified of this major change only weeks ago, resulting in a very short time frame to gather the relevant information to validate the large cost increase and how that relates to the express lane project. In the future, CTC staff hopes Caltrans will be more proactive in the early engagement efforts related to major project changes, and that staff will work with Caltrans to evaluate the need of a baseline agreement amendment for this project. Staff has reviewed the project and the request and recommends approval.
Excellent.
I have a quick question.
Commissioner Eager.
So you said this is combined with an express lane project? You said this is combined with an express lane project?
Correct.
Will that project also have this level of increase in costs?
I believe that we have the district on the line to provide a response. Doug, do we have someone?
Yeah.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you, Commissioner, for the question. The short answer to the question is no. There is actually savings realized on the express lane projects, as you're going to see in one of the upcoming items.
We couldn't hear your response. Could you try that one more time?
Yeah, answering your questions on the express lane project, no, there is no additional funding needing for that. As a matter of fact, the express lane project has realized some major savings.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Eager?
I think she said no. That the
I'm sorry,
increase is
can you hear me? I can hear you clearly, but I'm not sure. Maybe I have some sound issues. Are you able to hear my response? I'm sorry, I'm completely unable to hear anything.
I'll move the motion.
I see Commissioner Liu looking at me, so he seconds the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Welcome to the
We are
webinar.
now on item 64.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Commissioners, I will be presenting items 64 through 66 with a recommendation at the end. Item 64 is an action item for the Albion River Bridge Replacement Project on State Route 1 in Mendocino County that is requesting a supplemental allocation for pre-construction support for the project approval and environmental document phase. Please note there's a yellow replacement book item and a change to the requested supplemental fund allocation amount on the agenda as identified on the change list. Caltrans has expended a considerable amount of resources on public outreach efforts to address multiple actions filed in opposition of the replacement alternative. In anticipation of continued challenges on all aspects of the environmental review process, Caltrans decided to change the environmental document to a higher level environmental impact statement environmental document. The 2.9 million in supplemental funds is needed to change the environmental document, add an environmental consultant to the project, and provide increased public outreach efforts. In addition, Caltrans proposes to use the construction manager general contractor delivery method and will bring the CMGC contractor on board during the PA&ED phase to help evaluate constructability issues of multiple alternatives, minimize future design changes, identify mitigation needs, and to participate in streamlining the process for the coastal development permit. It should be noted the delivery of this project will be moved outside of the current shop cycle, changing it to be considered a long lead project. Commissioners, item 65 is an action item for a bridge replacement project on State Route 1 in Mendocino County that is requesting a supplemental allocation for pre-construction support for the project approval and environmental document phase. This project will remediate lead impacted soil from the past bridge maintenance activities to meet mitigation goals prior to the follow-up project that proposes to replace the Salmon Creek Bridge. The $250,000 increase in support costs for the project approval environmental document phase is due to support costs being expended to address interest and concerns by neighboring residents, a local interest group, and an adjacent landowner opposing the proposed work. Item 66 is an action item for a pavement rehabilitation project on State Route 129 and 162 in Santa Cruz County that is requesting a supplemental allocation for pre-construction support in the project approval and environmental document phase. The $400,000 increase in support costs for the project approval environmental document phase is due to the bicycle and pedestrian facility scope that was added to the project as part of the Complete Streets reservation earlier, I think it was last year. The additional funding will be used for preliminary design and right-of-way work and surveys to complete the PA&ED phase. Staff has reviewed the projects and requests for items 64 through 66 and recommends approval of these items.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If not, can we entertain a motion? Eager, Alvarado seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Tim, item 67.
Thank you. I'll be presenting items 67 through 69 with a recommendation at the end. Item 67 is an action item for a bridge rehabilitation project on State Route 156 in Monterey County, requesting a supplemental allocation to award the project. Please note there's a yellow book item as identified on the change list. The project was advertised in August of 2021. Bids were opened in September. The project received 6 bids and the low bid was 28.9% above the engineer's estimate. The 1.374 cost increase is mostly related to the higher cost for structural concrete, bridge removal, structures excavation, and concrete barrier treatments. Item 68 is an action item for an Americans with Disability Act design build project on State Route 210 in Los Angeles County, requesting a supplemental allocation to award the project. Please note there was an edit to this book item as identified on the change list. The project is utilizing the design build delivery method, and this is the first ADA design build project Caltrans has attempted to deliver. Caltrans has received 2 bids for this project, and the lowest responsible best value bidder was almost $10 million above the allocated amount.
Wow.
This project will construct pedestrian curb ramps, upgrade accessible pedestrian signals, and relocate pull box and traffic signal poles to meet ADA standards through 14 jurisdictions over 42 miles and consists of 80 intersections. When using the design build delivery method, much of the risk is transferred to the design build contractor. This increased construction capital is mainly related to time-related overhead, earthwork, electrical items, mobilization, and design services. Caltrans evaluated the cost of the project if they rejected the bids and brought the project in-house to be delivered utilizing the traditional design bid build method, and it was found this method could result in savings. However, delivering this project using the design build method is preferred. Item 69 is an action item for a safety roadside rest area restoration project on Interstate 5 in Merced County, requesting a supplemental allocation to award the project. Please note there is a yellow book item as identified on the change list. This project was allocated for construction in May of 2021, and the bids were opened in September 2021. The project received 5 bidders, but the lowest 2 bidders were deemed non-responsive. The third lowest bidder was 3.816 higher than the allocated amount. The biggest reasons for the increase are related to building work, time-related overhead, hot mix asphalt, and minor concrete. The contractor cited the increases are related to the concrete and fuel costs and the volatility in costs of lumber, pipe, and masonry labor. Staff has reviewed the projects and the requests for items 67 through 69 and recommends approval of these items.
I had a question on 68, and that was just, this is a 53.9% increase. You said you vetted it. Do you see this as a sign of things to come? Why is this uniquely worth approving with a $10 million increase over forecasted bids?
I think that would be a good question for Caltrans to reply. Is someone on the line for Caltrans?
Thank you. Director Tavares?
Yes, I'm here, Director Tavares from Caltrans District 7. Thank you for that question, Chair Norton. This project is the first design build project, as was mentioned. It's an ADA project. It's over 42 miles long, the length of the project limits. Includes over 264 project sites. By utilizing the design build method, we were able to transfer some of the risks and some of the pre-engineering work that typically takes place with a typical design bid build project that Caltrans delivers. We were able to transfer that to the design build contractor. A lot of that work includes third-party coordination with the 14 jurisdictions, multiple utility agencies along that stretch of 210. And so moving forward, I also asked the same question as to what would the cost be to deliver this in our typical method of design bid build. The team came back with there could have been a cost savings of about $5.9 million. However, at the time, they did not take into account when they came up with that estimate some of the impacts that we're seeing on the global economic market. We have considerable supply chain issues that are impacting many of the materials, such as conduits, signal poles, items such as that would be used for this type of project. In addition, there have been significant fuel cost increases throughout the nation, and although fuel costs seem to be leveling out right now, we don't know what the future holds for that. In addition, there have been labor impacts, finding truck drivers, finding equipment operators, and that also impacts the cost of delivering this project. And then finally, I think the biggest one is, as I mentioned, the third-party coordination risks. Not only one of the lessons that we have already learned is that as we developed the project, that we did not necessarily consider those contractor risks with coordinating the various construction work with the third parties, local agencies, and utility companies. This work is typically, because of that coordination, does not always happen in a linear, consecutive manner. There may be multiple times when a contractor has to mobilize, demobilize, and remobilize again in order to work through the various permitting issues that each local jurisdiction may have, but also to work around the utility companies, because as many of us know with transportation projects, they do not work on our schedule or our timeline. We typically have to work on their timeline.
Director Tavares, I really want to thank you for that thorough answer, and especially since this is one of the first of the ADA projects, it sounds like there's been a lot of lessons learned, and that these efficiencies are going to be manifested in other projects going forward. So we thank you very much for being here virtually to explain this to us. Very, very helpful. With that, we have no public comment, so I will take a motion on items 67, 68, and 69. Fran, do you want to move or do you want to ask a question?
I'll do both. Which order do you want?
Ask the question and then move.
Okay, so I'm still a little confused here with 68 and the design build. So we initially thought we would do this project because in the design build manner, because there would be benefits in terms of, I assume, risk minimization, cost, timing perhaps. Is that right, Director Tavares?
Director Tavares?
I'm muting him right now.
Oh.
Director Tavares, you're now muted and free to speak.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Inman, that is correct. There are still benefits to be realized from this project. I think one of the main benefits right now is if we were to pull this project back in and do it through our typical design bid build method, we would probably have to add an additional 20 months of time to design it, in addition to adding or requesting additional funds for support in the amount of at least $2.5 million. By delivering the design build method as we had planned, we're actually delivering these essential pedestrian ADA access ramps and pedestrian safety features to the communities much sooner, almost 20 months sooner. In addition, there's by continuing with the design build project, we see there's valuable information to be gained on the preliminary engineering side from the design build contractor. As I mentioned, current design bid build practices that Caltrans typically uses would require Caltrans to provide all the topographic survey work, the verification of existing utility conflicts, permits with each local jurisdiction. In this case, the design build actually puts that risk onto the contractor. Unfortunately, the team did not thoroughly analyze what the cost of those risks would be with dealing with those third parties and providing that additional data. I think there's also one more area of benefit that Caltrans can realize from this project is contractors, design build contractors, those competent mechanics, as we say, tend to be up to date with the latest industry practices. And there's an opportunity to tap into some of these innovative methods and practices used by the design build contractor and utilize those innovation aspects, if you will, to reduce the timeline in the delivery of the construction portion of the project, and for Caltrans in the future to incorporate those innovations into future projects. So there's still, I think there's still many benefits ahead of us that we can reap from this project, and we sincerely request and hope that the commission would allow us to move forward.
Thank you very much. Mitch wishes to speak, and then we will have a motion by Commissioner Inman and seconded by Leanne Eager.
And just, I guess, a question I'm happy to do with the answer as a follow-up, but just to understand the timeline, is the delay because we would be switching midstream with the construction process versus what if we would have just done this design bid build from the get-go, but we can have that discussion offline because we are where we are.
Okay, thank you for the observation, and we'll answer that rhetorical question in the future. So Commissioner Inman moves, Commissioner Eager seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Tim, we're on item 70.
Thank you. Item 70 is an action item for a maintenance facility project on Interstate 80 in Nevada County, requesting a supplemental allocation to close out construction. The increase in construction capital is needed to pay for contractor claims filed by the contractor. Construction contract was awarded in February 2018, accepted in 2019 of November. The contractor filed claims involving adjustments to contract items and quantities of materials. In September 2021, the department and the contractor reached a settlement agreement of $613,000. However, the remaining project budget of $310,000 is not adequate to settle the negotiated amount. Therefore, the department is requesting an additional $303,000 to settle the claim and close out the project. Staff has reviewed the project and the request and recommends approval of this item.
Okay, with no public comment on this item. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Eager seconds. All those in favor? Excellent. Item 71. It is.
Now it's on. Item 71 is an action item to approve amendments to the 2020 shop. As noted on the change list, a replacement item was distributed to update the project descriptions on 2 projects. With that change, these shop amendments will revise 51 projects that are currently programmed in the 2020 shop and will also add a total of 28 new projects to the 2020 shop. Staff has reviewed these amendments and finds they're consistent with the guidelines and the asset management plan and recommends approval.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions? We have no public comment on this item.
Madam Chair, I wanted to mention we received a letter by email from Annette Ibrahim, and we're going to get that out to you as soon as we can on this item.
Okay. In that letter, was there anything that required us to make some decision?
No, no requirement, but we want to make sure that you get that.
Fantastic. Excellent motion by Commissioner Gardino, seconded by Commissioner Liu. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. And we're now on item 72. Nice to see you again, Lori.
Yes, tab 72 is an action item to consider an active transportation program scope amendment for Humboldt County's Manila Moves campaign and shared use path project in Humboldt County. This project was programmed in cycle 2 of the program for 1.7 million in ATP funds. This project will construct a separated shared use path along State Route 255 to connect 2 currently disconnected neighborhoods and help the community safely get to destinations such as the Redwood Coast Montessori School, the Manila Community Center, Willow and Dunes Daycare, public transit, and school bus stops. There's also a community education program included with the project. This scope change request is to modify the northern limit of the shared use path from Carlson Drive to Lupin Drive, which reduces the length of the project from 0.54 miles to 0.31 miles. Humboldt County must make this change because they could not get the coastal development permit needed to build this segment. This was due to adjacent landowner opposition. The issue came up late in the project because in the original project concept, the bike path would have been aligned adjacent to State Route 255. However, during the environmental phase, Caltrans specified that the path would need to be further from State Route 255, putting the alignment closer to the adjacent residential properties and thus leading to the property owner opposition. The book item has more of the details along with plans and maps, but this is generally what happened. The book item also references another active transportation project located in Manila that was constructed in 2020. I just want to be clear that this project is near the Manila Moves project, but it is not part of the Manila Moves project and not active transportation program funded. Commissioners, at this point, staff must acknowledge that this is not the type of scope change that we want to see, where the scope is basically being reduced. Several project activities did not go as planned in this project, some of which were totally out of Humboldt County's control, such as the pandemic slowing down all of the complicated coordination needed for coastal projects. Scope reductions are certainly not something that we want to encourage at all. However, staff has decided to recommend approval for the following reasons. The main scope modification is removing the northern portion of the bike path segment. This segment was not at the core of the project's goals. This was an added segment to connect a future trail extension to the Humboldt Coastal Nature Center funded by the Friends of the Dunes. The Friends of the Dunes no longer plans to build a connecting trail, therefore removing the reason for this segment. Caltrans performed an engineering analysis of the scope change and has determined that there will be no changes to the project benefits, and staff supports this assessment. Secondly, Humboldt County has shown a clear commitment to active transportation through another active transportation project in the project area that will provide safety improvements such as speed reduction measures and crosswalk improvements that was completed in 2020 and funded by the county and community donations. Third, this is a rural, very economically disadvantaged community, and there are major safety concerns for bikers and walkers along State Route 255 that the remaining project scope should mitigate. Not approving the scope change would mean a halt to those critical safety improvements. Lastly, this project is from the second cycle of the program, the 2015 Active Transportation Program. We've all learned a lot since those first few cycles of the program. The last cycle and this current cycle in particular, Commission staff and Caltrans staff have taken proactive steps to help implementers to avoid these kinds of scope challenges. One clear example is the project study report equivalency technical workshop held on December 1st that I discussed in my previous presentation. Because of these measures, we're seeing a reduction in scope changes for projects programmed in the more recent cycles. Based on these reasons, staff recommends approving the scope amendment for Humboldt County's Manila Moves campaign and shared use path project in Humboldt County. But I'm happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you. I see that there's no public comment on item 72. Do you have any questions, commissioners? Seeing none, could you raise your hands for move and second? I see Commissioner Grisby move and Commissioner Falcone second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. And no noes or abstentions. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to move to item 73, Casey Ruggiero.
Tab 73 is an action item to program $1,967,000 in available Proposition 1A funds to the construction component of the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission's Stockton Passenger Track Extension Phase 2A project. When complete, this project will consist of a 1.3-mile dedicated passenger track connecting the Robert Cabral Station with the new Altamont Corridor Express Rail Maintenance Facility, thereby eliminating congestion on a Union Pacific Railroad main line when maneuvering trains into and out of the facility. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends your approval.
Thank you. Seeing that there's no public comment on this item, Commissioner Eager moves and Commissioner Alvarado seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. No, any abstentions or nays? Excellent. Well, on to item 73. That was 73. On to item 74, Christine Gordon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 74 and 75 are program updates for the local partnership program that will be presented individually and will be asked for a vote after tab 75. Tab 74 is an action item to consider a second project scope change request for the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, LA Metro, Orange Line Bus Rapid Transit Improvements Project, programmed in fiscal year 1920. There is a yellow replacement which replaces attachments 1 and 2. On May 16, 2018, the Commission approved the 2018 Local Partnership Competitive Program, which included $75 million in program funding on this project. On December 5th, 2019, the Commission approved the first scope change amendment. On October 25th, 2021, LA Metro submitted a second scope change request to remove the elevated bike path adjacent to the aerial grade separations and replace with a complete enhanced improvement to the existing at-grade bicycle and pedestrian pathway, 14 miles from Chatsworth to Valley College stations, and remove the closure of Tyrone Avenue. All other project elements in the current approved scope remains unchanged. The proposed scope change is a result of additional analysis to address findings from the first last mile planning for the Van Nuys and Sepulveda stations, in addition to stakeholder and law enforcement concerns of safety, visibility, and emergency accessibility. The closure of Tyrone Avenue is not needed to accommodate the busway grade separation structure. The modification changes will result in increased safety and accessibility benefits. Caltrans performed a thorough review and engineering analysis on the revised scope and support the scope change because the project benefits will increase. Commission staff concurs with the Caltrans analysis and the request is consistent with the local partnership program. Staff recommends your approval and the yellow replacement item. And now Anya will present tab 75.
Thank you. Commissioners, tab 75 is an action item to amend the local partnership formulaic program. There is a yellow replacement for this item to delete one of the recommendations. The two remaining amendments will add the Orinda 2022 Annual Pavement Rehabilitation on Various Streets project in Contra Costa County and program 400,000 of the 2020 formulaic program funding for the construction phase in fiscal year 2021-22. This project will rehabilitate various segments of pavement on several public roads in the city of Orinda, increasing safety for drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists. And second, add supplemental funding to the Avenue 280 widening in Visalia project and program an additional $70,000 of available 2020 formulaic program funding for construction in fiscal year 2022-23. The policy action approved at the August 2021 meeting allows taxing authorities to program their redistributed incentive funds to projects currently programmed in the 2020 Local Partnership Formulaic Program. This request meets the requirements set forth in that policy action. Staff has reviewed these two amendment requests. Staff recommends your approval of tabs 74 and 75.
Thank you very much. There is no public comment on either of these items, and seeing that there are no commissioners that wish to speak, Commissioner Alvarado moves, Commissioner Inman seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
And are there any abstentions or nays? Thank you. Those are approved. We'll go on to items 76 and 77 together. Naveen?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 76 and 77 will be voted on together following the presentation on Tab 77. Tab 76 is an action item to approve a program amendment to the Cycle 2 Solutions for Congested Corridors program. This program amendment would split an existing project component in the Bay Area Rapid Transit's, or BART, Train Control Modernization Program project into 4 individual components, allowing the implementing agency, which is BART, to perform some of the specialized work itself and seek outside contractors where applicable to maintain the project component's cost effectiveness. This program amendment would amend the project component's delivery, title, and description whilst preserving the original project scope and delivery timeline and maintaining the original programmed amount. The Solutions for Congested Corridors program funding of $45.15 million would be redistributed between 2 components, with $41,800,000 allocated to the first component and $3,350,000 to the second. This request is consistent with the Solution for Congested Corridors program and guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tab 76 once the vote is taken following the presentation of tab 77. Moving on to tab 77, this is an action item to approve an allocation amendment to the Cycle 2 Solutions for Congested Corridors program for the locally administered Train Control Modernization Program's switch machine cabling contract project component in the Alameda and San Francisco counties. During the May 2021 meeting, the Commission acted to approve the allocation of $45,150,000 to this project component. However, the implementing agency, Bay Area Rapid Transit, again, or BART, received a single responsive bid, which exceeded the engineer's estimate of the project component by about 48%. To maintain the project component's cost effectiveness, it will be split into 4 individual project components. The Solution for Congested Corridors program funding of $45,150,000 would be redistributed between 2 components, with $41,800,000 allocated to the switch machine cabling project BART labor component and $3,350,000 to the switch machine cabling project procurement of non-revenue equipment component. The remaining components will be funded with $15,224,000 of local funds. This request is consistent with the Solutions for Congested Corridors program and guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tabs 76 and 77, respectively, as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioner Gardino? And we have Commissioner Alvarado second. I wanted to acknowledge that we have no public comment on either of these items. So commissioners, if we could take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
No nays, any abstentions? Excellent. Okay, we'll move on to item 78. Hannah Walter.
Morning, Commissioners. This is a bridge replacement in the Port of Stockton. Oh, please note there's a pink replacement for this book item. It replaces an 85-year-old bridge that provides the main freight rail access to the port's west complex. And it's a good freight project. Unfortunately, they didn't meet their deadline for their design funds, their California Environmental Quality Act deadline. And this project has both design and right-of-way funds programmed to it from the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program. Actually, I apologize. They didn't meet their deadline for the right-of-way funds. The design funds are fine. So the staff recommendation is to delete the right-of-way funds consistent with program requirements, and then to allow them to keep the design funds. Our other recommendation is to have them revise their baseline to reflect this change and present it for approval at a future commission meeting.
Great. Thank you very much. I see that we have no public comment on this item.
I just have one clarification, just to be sure
Yeah,
what we're voting on. So
Yeah.
we're going to vote on the 4.433 today, and then the 910 get moved to a later date to be included in a future recommendation?
No, actually, I apologize for the confusion. So let me be clear.
Okay.
What we are recommending is that they keep their 4.433 million in design, and that we delete the 910,000 in right of way.
Right. I think I said that. And the 910 gets moved to a future date. They can request it later. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. They could do.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just, they can reapply for the funding in the future
With the 910.
with the
Included in
910 or, their construction funding, but it's
However
no
much.
longer programmed.
Okay, got it. Just want to make sure.
Commissioner Eager, with that question answered, you move approval? Okay, excellent. Eager moved, Lou seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Great. Commissioners and colleagues, I need to recuse myself from item 79. The reason for my recusal is that I worked on the 6th Street Viaduct before I became a commissioner. And so if you give me a chance to leave the room, Vice Chair Alvarado will take over until I come back. Thank you.
Let the record show that Chair Norton has left the room. Item 79, John.
Item 79 is an action item to allocate $10,659,000 in Proposition 1B Local Bridge Seismic Retrofit Account funds for the 21-22 fiscal year annual allocation. Approval of this item will allocate funds to Caltrans and will also delegate to Caltrans the authority to sub-allocate the funds to local agencies as their projects become ready for funding. As a reminder, these bond funds provide the local match requirement for seismic rehabilitation projects within the federally funded Highway Bridge Program. I just want to note, the book item has an attachment, and there are 15 projects shown on that attachment that are expected to receive an allocation this year. 11 are for projects that are already in construction, and 4 are for new projects going to construction. And with those 4 new projects going to construction, that would bring our amount of projects not in construction in this program down to below 30. So we're continuing to move in the right direction on this program. We got still some more work to do though. So with that, staff has reviewed this allocation and recommends approval.
Any questions? Is there a motion? Inman makes the motion. Ager seconds the motion. For the questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Very good, thank you. We'll just keep moving, John.
All right. 80 through 83 are all shop allocations. So item 8, we'll take them all together at the end. Item 80 is an action item for construction allocations. And there is changes on the change list for this to project number 9 and project number 20. With those changes, this item will allocate approximately $99 million for 21 SHOP projects. Sorry. 81 is an action item for SHOP pre-construction support allocations. There is a change on the change list to project number 1, which has been withdrawn. This item will allocate approximately $85 million for 90 SHOP pre-construction phases for PNED, PS&E, and right-of-way support. Item 82 is an action item to allocate construction funds for a SHOP bridge rehabilitation project on Interstate 210 in Los Angeles County. As noted on the change list, the allocation amount has been reduced to $24,430,000 to match the updated project cost estimate. And item 83 is an action item to allocate $15,300,000 in right-of-way capital for a SHOP roadway rehabilitation project on State Route 70 in Yuba County. There is a change on the change list for this item as well to change the word expended to committed. So with those changes and those items, staff recommends approval of items 80, 81, 82, and 83.
Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Oh.
Vice Chair, we need a motion.
Oh.
I'll move.
Motion by Inman, second by Gardino. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Welcome back, Chair Norton.
Thank you. So we are on item 84.
84, that is correct.
Excellent.
I will be taking 84, 85, and 86. Agenda item, they're all action items. 84 is a request to approve a project list for the CRISA program. The project list consists of 21 projects to 16 agencies, local agencies, totaling $29.9 million, as shown on attachment A. Agenda item 85 is a STIP allocation request of $35,468,000 for the State Route 99 Livingston Whining southbound project in Merced County. Agenda item 86 is also a STIP allocation request of $4,581,000 to 8 locally administered STIP projects. Before I make my recommendation, I'd like to take just 30 seconds to say a few words to Commissioner Alvarado.
Do so in the mic though, so everybody hears you.
Just wanted to thank you for your leadership, your guidance, and your support throughout the years. You started at the same time I did, so it's going to be different when you're not here. And I hope I wish you the very best. We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
Staff has reviewed agenda items 84, 85, 86, finds it consistent with the CRISA program and STIP guidelines. Staff recommends your approval.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. We have no public comment on these 3 items, so can we entertain a motion? I see Commissioner Eager and Commissioner Inman seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Point of clarification, Commissioner Gardino. Yes, yes. We approve your kind words. Excellent. All right. So now we are moving on to items 88 and through 90.
Madam Chair, for the record, can we say that tab 87 was withdrawn?
We can say that.
Thank you.
And you just did. Thank you. So we're now going to go to items 88 through 90.
Commissioners, I will be presenting tabs 88 through 90. Tab 88 is an action item requesting to deallocate $5,319,000 for the Proposition 1A Stockton Passenger Track Extension Phase 2A project. The project did not award within its program guidelines and timely use of funds extension. Tab 89 is an action item. This is a supplemental request to allocate an additional $7,286,000 in Proposition 1A funds for the construction phase of the Stockton Passenger Track Extension Phase 2A project. The San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission received a construction allocation in 2015. Due to the Union Pacific Railroad delays, the project did not award within its approved time extension and lapsed. A second construction allocation of $7,293,000 was approved in March 2021 with bids higher than anticipated. This supplemental request is necessary to award the construction contract.
Excellent. I see that we have no public comment on items 88, 89, or 90.
I have 90 to still cover.
Oh, well then, please do that.
Thank you. Tab 90 is an action item for the Railroad Grade Crossing Protection Maintenance Program. Public Utilities Code Section 1231.1 requires the commission to allocate an annual lump sum request from the Public Utilities Commission for their Railroad Grade Crossing Maintenance Program for fiscal year 22-23 for $3,750,000. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with statute. Staff recommends your approval of tabs 88, 89, and 90.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If not, I see Commissioner Alvarado moves approval and Commissioner Liu seconds. We have no public comment on these items, as I said before, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any nays or abstentions? Wonderful. Thank you so much, Casey. Okay, so we are now at item 91 through 93. Christine Gordon.
Yes, 91 through 93 are allocation requests for the local partnership program. Tab 91 is an allocation request totaling $1,629,000 for the local partnership formulaic program funds for the state-administered Turner Road Interchange Operational Improvements Project on the state highway system in San Joaquin County, programmed in fiscal years 1920. Tab 92 is an allocation request for $5 million in local partnership competitive program funds for the locally administered La Cañada Flint Ridge Sound Wall Project on the state highway system in Los Angeles County, programmed in fiscal year 1920. Tab 93 is an allocation request totaling $2,041,000 in the local partnership formulaic and competitive program funds for 2 locally administered projects off the state highway system. These projects are, the requests are consistent with the local partnership program guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tabs 91, 92, and 93.
Thank you so much. I see we have no public comment on these items. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If not, I see Commissioner Gardino makes the motion and Commissioner Liu seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Okay, we're moving on to item 94. Christine?
Yes. So tab 94 is an allocation request for $52,918,000 in state transportation improvement program and local partnership formulaic and competitive program funds for the state administered multi-funded Interstate 680 southbound express lane from State Route 84 to Al Costa Boulevard project on the state highway system in Alameda County, programmed in fiscal year 21-22. Also want to reference that this request is in reference to tab 62, the SHOP project allocation. Staff has reviewed the request and the item is consistent with the local partnership program guidelines and the STIP guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tab 94.
Okay, I see that we have no public comment on, oh, we do have one.
Yes, Chair Norton, we do have public comment at this time. We have Tess Lengyao. Tess, you're free to unmute yourself and make your comment.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tess Lengyao, Executive Director of the Alameda County Transportation Commission. I just wanted to say that I'm very pleased that we were able to combine a SHOP project with this voter-approved project in Alameda County, and appreciate your staff support and are hopeful for your support for this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see no other public comment this time.
Fantastic. With that, I see Commissioner Liu move and Commissioner Grisby second. All those in favor?
Aye.
You, any nays or abstentions? Excellent. All right. Item 95, Hannah?
Commissioners, tab 95 is an allocation request from the Port of San Diego for $4.9 million for construction of an emission treatment system. This is new technology and staff appreciate all of the work that the port staff put into helping Caltrans and the commission feel comfortable that the benefits of this project could be achieved. Staff recommends approval of this request.
Thank you. I see we have no public comment, but I know we have Commissioner Liu who had wanted to say a few words.
Yes, I just want people to understand that these companies that are trying to develop ship emission capture and control technologies, in theory, this is something that should work. It should work easily. The companies that have been doing this, I'm to be nice, have disappointed us over the years, for many, many years. So I want to make sure that for this project, there are very strong controls in place to make sure that whoever is chosen, have they already selected someone?
No, I don't believe that they have.
Okay, so whoever is selected to do this is put on a very short leash, in all honesty, or else we may be wasting money here. And is there anyone from the Port of San Diego or from representing this project who can give me some assurances to that?
Yeah, I believe there is. Is Stephen Schaefer available? If not, then I actually do have some information about that, and I can try to respond to your question, Commissioner.
Sure.
Okay. So over the past almost year now, Caltrans and myself have been meeting with the port because of some of the same concerns that you've mentioned. And what I can tell you is that with any project like this that is using such new technology, there are always some risks inherent in that. But what they have done is that they worked closely with us when they designed their RFP to make really rigorous reporting requirements for whoever they're contracting with. And it includes things like very frequent check-ins and also letting them know if there's any malfunctions, things like that. They've also required that over the life of the contract that the emissions reductions that they put in their performance benefits for the application be achieved. And they've also required that whoever they contract with have an agreement with the Air Resources Board that they can reduce emissions this way.
Yeah.
At our request, they also did redo their whole analysis of their ability to use this system to achieve the benefits from their application. And we looked at it closely with them. And so they really have done their due diligence to try to minimize risk wherever they can. And so I do feel like even though there is some risk, I'm fairly comfortable that overall we're making the best decision with our investment.
Yeah.
But we'll continue to work with them on it.
Right. And we want this technology to succeed.
Right.
It's just that the people who've been trying to do it haven't performed as well as we had hoped. One of the things that did happen in not too recent past is that one of the companies that had a certified technology had their certification revoked by the Air Resources Board because of a failure to provide data in a timely manner. I don't know if that's been resolved or not, but it's something to be aware of and look into. If you could get me a copy of the RFP, I would love to see the provisions that are in there. And once they issue the contract, just update me so we can stay on top of it. I appreciate the due diligence you've done on this issue.
Certainly.
Thank you. I'll move the item.
Thank you so much. Do we have a second? Commissioner Inman, thank you so much, Hannah, for your very thorough answers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? Thanks. Okay, with that, we are going to have Lori Waters present items 96 and 97.
Yes, we can take 96 and 97 together. Commissioners, tab 96 is an action item to approve allocations of $42,280,000 for 22 active transportation program projects. Please note the changes to projects 19, 20, and 21 on the change list, particularly project 19, as they have achieved the right-of-way certification and are now ready to go. Tab 97 is an action item to approve an allocation of $300,000 for the City of Alameda's Central Avenue Complete Street project. Staff has reviewed all of these allocation requests and find them consistent with active transportation program guidelines and the adopted program. Therefore, staff recommends approval of tabs 96 and 97.
If I may, Madam Chair, I'd like to comment before making a motion on this.
Yes, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we have no public comment. Please, Commissioner Gardino.
And thank you, Madam Chair. I spoke up a little too soon before you asked about public comment. Lori, this is just one more example of the great work you do with the communities throughout our state. And I would mention in Project 5 in Santa Cruz, the city of Santa Cruz as an example. I had a chance to go ride on the existing path that they built through the city and how well they have done that. I think they used to call them rails and trails approach, where it's right next to the railroad. It makes it safer. It was incredibly well used. It was both the perception and the reality of safety as well. And just an outstanding example that I'm glad to see they're building another almost full mile onto an existing path of a couple of miles right through the heart of the city of Santa Cruz.
Yes, Santa Cruz has done an excellent job in the program.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Gardino.
And with that, a motion of
excellent.
approval. Thank you.
And Commissioner Eager seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. Okay, next we will have items 98 through 101. Gertej?
Thank you, Chair Norton, and hello to the commissioners. Tabs 98 through 101 are action items requesting time extensions for the period of contract award. The time extension requests are for the SHOP, Active Transportation Program, and Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. Please note the change list for tab 98, where you will see one project which was removed from the agenda because it was awarded prior to the deadline requirement. And also please note that tab 100 is a post-fact request for the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. Sorry about that. Staff has reviewed these items and recommends approval in accordance with the yellow time extension recommendation table.
Thank you. We have no public comment on items 98 through 101. Do we have a motion? I see Commissioner Grisby and Commissioner Falcone second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And no nays or abstentions. Thank you. Now we're on item 102 through which, Gertej?
Through 104.
Great. Thank you.
So tabs 102 through 104 are action items requesting time extensions for the period of project completion. The time extension requests are for the SHOP, Active Transportation Program, and Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. Staff has reviewed these items and recommends approval in accordance with the yellow time extension recommendation table.
Thank you. We have no public comment on these items. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Eager and Commissioner Grisby seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Any nays or abstentions? Excellent. With that, we move to items 105 and 106. Gertej?
Tabs 105 and 106 are action items requesting time extensions for the period of project development expenditure. Tab 105 is for the SHOP, and tab 106 is a post-fact request for the STIP portion of a locally administered and multi-funded Route 605 and 91 interchange improvement project. Staff has reviewed these items and recommends approval in accordance with the yellow time extension recommendation table.
Excellent. We have no public comment on these items. Do any commissioners would like to make a motion? Commissioner Falcone moves and Commissioner Inman seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? Thank you. Okay, Casey, we look forward to, are you doing 107 through 109?
Just tab 107.
Okay, gotcha.
Tab 107 is a request to consider a post-fact period.
Could
of
you
con-
speak a little closer to the mic,
Sorry.
just for the
I was
public?
told to do that. Sorry, I apologize. Tab 107 is a request to consider a post-fact period of project reimbursement deadline by 12 months for the capacity improvements courthouse trolley station TIRCP project in San Diego County. The agency did not submit their final invoice by the required deadline due to staffing oversight. The agency and Caltrans expect to have the invoice resolved by this month, December 2021. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends your approval.
Excellent. There's no public comment on this item. Could we entertain a motion? Commissioner Gardino and Commissioner Eager second. Commissioner Eager seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Any nays or abstentions? Thank you so much. So we're now at our last two items, 108 and 109. Gertej?
Yes, happy to present final two items. Tabs 108 and 109 are action items requesting amendments to previously approved time extensions for the shop and the Trade Corridors Enhancement Program. Tab 108 is for one shop project in Alameda County for the period of project completion. The time extension amendment is being requested as an exception to the shop guidelines. This project is a collaborative effort between Caltrans and Alameda County Transportation Commission. In order to complete the construction phase, additional time is required for Caltrans to complete fiber optic work that will meet specifications. The additional time will also ensure that Alameda County Transportation Commission will not carry a financial burden to complete construction of the Caltrans contract. Tab 109 is a request to extend the period of project development expenditure for the Trade Corridors Enhancement Program portion of the locally administered and multi-funded Route 605 and 91 Interchange Improvement Program. Staff has reviewed these items and recommends approval in accordance with the yellow time extension recommendation table.
Thank you, Gitesh. We do not have any public comment on 108 or 109, so I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Grisby and Commissioner Falcone seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
No nays or abstentions. And that concludes the agenda items for the two meetings today. However, we are now in the public comment portion of our meeting, and I know that Executive Director Mitch Weiss would like to speak.
I just had two quick comments. First, on behalf of staff, I wanted to also thank Commissioner Alvarado for his service, but also really for being a pleasure to work with over the years. I have to say it's been about 16 years that we've worked together, and I really enjoyed that. One of the things that I was told when I took this current position is with Commissioner Alvarado, if you send him a text and he doesn't respond, then you know you got a problem. And I'm happy to say I have not had that happen yet. You know, there's still a couple of months, hopefully. So, and hopefully I don't have that happen. But really, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Second, I want to thank our administrative team, particularly Doug and Justin and Brandy for putting on this first hybrid meeting. It's gone excellent. The bar has been set really high, and that's also a function to the help we have received from RCTC and the staff of the county and this excellent facility. Not all our facilities are going to be this nice, and not all of them are going to come with two people to help us out.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that in the future we can continue doing this as smoothly. But they've set the bar very high. I know every place doesn't have these, so I really want to thank you guys and the Riverside team.
And I want to thank the same team. This is our first meeting in person, but throughout 2020, you made sure that we did not miss a meeting. I flew up those meetings so that we could do this all from the room in the CTC meetings in the conference room in the Caltrans building. You put that together with like Scotch tape and it was extraordinary. And the fact that we did not miss one meeting, we had very well-run meetings and lots of participation really says a lot about how important it was for you, Mitch, and you, Tanisha, and the entire staff to make sure that we never missed a beat, because you knew how much everybody was counting on the funds we help administer. So I just want to thank you guys. That was really huge. And everybody was talking about other meetings and commissioners that, commission meetings that didn't happen, and ours never missed a beat. So thank you very much for all of your work. I want to commend you. With that, are there any other comments, commissioners?
He's not here to thank, but again, a huge thank you to Commissioner Tavaloni for being such a gracious host. It seems only fitting that our first time coming back together in 21 months is here again in Riverside and the historic Mission Inn as well. the interesting part about how safe you've kept us all by keeping us 6 feet apart on the dais is I think there are actually 2 zip codes between me and Darnell Grisby. But this has just been a wonderful experience. And then again, just adding to the accolades to our colleague Bob Alvarado and his, what is it, 17 years of service? Yeah, just truly amazing, my friend. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
And Mitch, you said that the bar is set high. Well, on behalf of the affectionately known COVID commissioners, of which there are 5 of us, we expect this every time. We're just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not all saying our goodbyes, Commissioner Alvarado, because we know you can participate remotely in January, but it was just lovely to have you here and to give us the chance to thank you in person while you were here. Your experience with SB1 and on the commission has just been extraordinary, and your leadership is legendary. And we thank you for sharing that time with us. Absolutely.
Indicated they wanted to make a public comment during this time. We have Brian Grunwald. Brian, you're free to unmute yourself and make your comment.
Madam Chairman and members of the commission, in August, I addressed your august body and asked for help in leasing Caltrans property in Oakland for a car wash. Mr. Sobelman was asked to look into the matter and reported back that Caltrans has no authority with regards to leases or Caltrans denying any leases. I am requested because of Caltrans policy, commission policy. I am requesting that you contact the Secretary of Transportation and request a change of policy to allow the commission to review long-term lease proposals denied by Caltrans without cause. You clearly have the capability to evaluate these as you have the authority to approve lease proposals. So I'm just asking that your authority be increased to hear appeals. This is all written in a letter that I sent to you all in November, and I'd be pleased to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Before we ask you any questions, we would like to give the mic to Mr. Sobelman. Tim?
Thank you, Chair Norton. Yes, Mr. Grunwald, we have received your letter and we've responded. What was not mentioned is we have never received an actual request for an airspace lease from the department. We rely on the department to assess airspace lease proposals. And then when they are presented to the commission, we will evaluate them.
Thank you very much. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.